Hi, I'm Dave Cassilo of cleveland.com. Got Tim Bielik with me right now, and signing day, I mean, it's only 1 o'clock, but it feels like it's been a marathon already, a lot going on. We had Nordonia in earlier this morning. They had 6 players sign right in our offices. It was really cool, but now we're moving on to sort of the big impact show. Like, we're talking a lot about players now, and some of those players won't really have an impact until their senior year. But there are a couple of guys that, right away, whether it be freshman or sophomore year, you're going to hear people talk about them. They're going to make an impact on the field. So we're going to discuss a couple of those guys right now, and we're going to start where else but Ohio State. And Tim, give me someone that you just see jumping on the field, first couple of years, just being a huge impact player.
It's hard not to think that Jerome Baker's not going to have an impact right away out of Benedictine. I mean, he's arguably one of the top athletes in the country, probably the top athlete in all of Ohio, in this recruiting cycle. He's just such a good athlete. He's got college-ready size. He's very fast. He can play linebacker, played some running back. It's going to be hard for him to crack that linebacker rotation at Ohio State just because of how deep that group is with guys like Josh Perry and Darren Lee still with another year or two of eligibility. But you got a feeling that Baker's going to get a chance early on to get some experience, at least on special teams, maybe in certain spot situations. But there's just so much to like about what he brings to the field that it's hard not to see him get out there pretty early.
Yeah, he's the type of guy where he's such a good athlete that Ohio State will probably find a way to get him involved in some capacity. You mentioned special teams. That can be a way where players can get in right away, show what they can do. He can tackle, he can block, he can do a lot of things on the field. He's fast, so he'll be an asset wherever they put him on the field. And who's another guy that had a terrific high school senior season and now is jumping to Ohio State?
You mentioned Nordonia. I want to go to Denzel Ward, the defensive player of the year, I believe, for cleveland.com. Mm-hmm. Every time he touched the football, it seemed he did something with it. And when you have that kind of explosive ability, it's hard to keep that kind of talent off the field. And you mentioned Ohio State and Urban Meyer trying to find a way to put those guys on the field. There's few college coaches out there that take freshmen and put them out there in positions to succeed like Urban Meyer does. And I feel like Denzel Ward, even though he wasn't as highly regarded as some of the other guys that Ohio State's brought in, and even though there's so much depth in the secondary with guys like Eli Apple and Von Bell back there, that with his ability to make a play every time he gets the football, it's so hard to keep that talent off the field.
Yeah, I mean, Denzel is another thing we talked about special teams. I mean, he's so fast that you might see him contribute on punt returns or kick returns at some point earlier in his career. And he is such a good defensive back. I don't think he gets as much publicity as some of the other guys, but he is such a good player. He's a shutdown corner. He's super fast, which you can't teach. He'll bulk up a little, and he'll be a player that'll really hit the field and have a huge impact. Now, give me someone maybe off the radar, not one of those two players who, when all is said and done on Ohio State, you think is going to put up a terrific career?
I think it's Draymond Jones. I think Jones is kind of one of those late bloomer type of players. We didn't really know much about him until midway through his junior season when he started to really take off. And by the time he was a senior, there were times when he was pretty much unblockable. Like you would have to double team him almost every time off the edge, and that's explosive talent. He's 6'5", 250 with really long arms. He's just a long, strong athlete. And with Ohio State, I believe Urban Meyer has been talking about, how they want to get more depth at that defensive line with Joey Bosa probably gone after this coming season. Yeah. I'd argue he's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. There's going to be room in there for other linemen to get in there and make an opportunity, and I think Draymond's going to be one of those guys.
I'd say keep an eye on Rashad Berry of Lorraine. Now, this is a guy, another one of those guys where maybe not a lot of Ohio State fans knew that much about him, but from football, we see him a lot in basketball. The guy's a freak of nature athletically. I mean, he can jump. His head is above the rim when he plays basketball. On the football field, he can do almost anything. He's sort of like a Jerome Baker light. Now, he needs to develop a little more. He's not, he doesn't have his skills as refined as Baker might have at this point. But I feel like by the time Rashad Berry graduates, he's going to be someone that people will talk about at Ohio State. Now, Ohio State isn't a school where we have Big Ten players who's another player in the Big Ten from Northeast Ohio that'll have an impact?
I'm going to go with more one player. I'm going with two. I'm going with the Dowell brothers. Both of them going to Michigan State. They've had a little bit of an interesting recruiting cycle. They started in Northwestern, then went to Kentucky, and now Michigan State. And to be honest, I like the fit for those two, particularly Andrew, we know, who was as good in the secondary at St. Ed's as anybody, and that's including Sean Crawford. He's going to fit in very well with that no-fly zone defense, even though Pat Narduzzi's off the pit. And, Michigan State's just turned out so many good secondary guys, from Darquez Denard to Trey Waynes and Curtis Drummond in the last couple of years. I got the feeling Andrew Dowell will fit right in. He's already got college-ready size at safety, 6'1", 211 pounds. So right now he's got college size to step in and have an impact right away in that defense. Yeah,
the Dowells, you got a guy like Justice Alexander from Nordonia, another Michigan State commit. By the end of their careers, I think they're going to really contribute to what has become a reputation for Michigan State for producing very good defensive players. Another guy in the Big Ten, this guy's at Purdue. Who should we look at?
Richard Worship. You kind of teased at the Purdue kid out of Valley Forge. He's been a great player for the Patriots. He scores a lot of touchdowns. And he's a big back with size at 235 pounds. You don't see that too much in college football with the way spread offenses are. Our team lean more towards, the smaller, faster backs. But I think Purdue's more trying to be more of a pro-style team on offense. And when you have a guy like Worship who's got that size, I think he'll fit right in.
Yeah, and when you look at Purdue, now, when players are going to Ohio State, Michigan State, the program is really solid right now, and there's a lot of competition. At Purdue, you're looking at a program that just wants the best players on the field. So a guy like Richard Worship, if he's a freshman and he's the best option at running back when they're trying to build something at Purdue, this could be a great opportunity for him. Now, it's not just Big Ten, though. We have a lot of other kids going to local schools in the MAC conference. Now, what MAC team is really getting a steal?
I think Eastern Michigan is getting a steal when you look at Eddie Doherty. He doesn't have the prototypical size for, explosive playmakers. Only 5'7". Most Division I schools, you like him to be about 6 foot, but he's got just such an ability. Denzel Ward, every time he gets the ball in his hands, he does something with it. And you could argue he was Mentor's most dangerous offensive player. Coach Trevisano used him in all sorts of different ways. They line him up at running back. They line him up at receiver. Every time, it was just their goal to get the football in his hands whenever they needed something to happen, and he usually made that happen.
Yeah, when you have a player like that, I sort of like when we were talking about Jerome Baker, you just find a role for him. Now, I don't think Eddie's going to play on defense, but whether it be, a slot receiver or coming out of the backfield, he's a really talented player, and he'll have a good career there. Who's a quarterback that's joining the MAC conference? Now, is a guy we talk about a lot here, and sort of, to me, I'm surprised that he isn't going Big Ten or something like that, so I think this school is getting a real steal.
Yeah, Toledo with Mitch Guadagni. I think this is going to be a situation, I may touch on this later, where it's going to be a Big Ten school 3 years from now thinking, how did we not bring this guy in? With all the success he put up at Hudson, he's a tremendous dual-threat guy, a runner and a thrower. I think he's going to fit in very well with Matt Campbell's offense. You mentioned a Big Ten team. I thought, Indiana would have been a perfect fit for him with the offense that Kevin Wilson runs out there. They like quarterbacks who can run and throw, and Guadagni, I think, would have been a great fit there. But, Toledo's getting a tremendous player, and there's a reason they continue to be strong in the MAC is they get guys like Mitch Guadagni.
Yeah, you got to wonder with Guadagni, I know Indiana was coming on strong, as you mentioned, but, in his mind, does he go, all right, I can go to Toledo where I can win MAC conference titles and go to bowl games, or go to Indiana where, unfortunately, Indiana sort of developed the reputation of being towards the bottom of the Big Ten. So I think at the end of the day, Mitch might have wanted to win a little more and have opportunities for postseason success. Now, it's not just the MAC, it's not just the Big Ten. Northeast Ohio players are going all across the country. So give me one that you feel is really, really going to stand out in the next couple of years.
I want to look at C.J. Conrad from Keystone. I think he was just kind of one of the more interesting prospects. He's 6'5". He's a big kid, going to the University of Kentucky. Obviously, playing in the Pac, he had a tremendous advantage. It was just a mismatch. Every time teams are up against him, so hard to match up with that size. The adjustment's going to be when he gets to Kentucky, when he plays against those great teams like Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee that have those special kind of athletes. How long does it take for him to adjust to it? I think he'll adjust soon, and when he does, Kentucky's going to have a real stud on their hands.
Now, before we get into the rest of them, we got a guest right now. It is We got a guest coming in a little bit. Sorry, just getting the word from the control room. We're going to have Alex Stump of St. Edward, Ohio State commit. He'll be on the way. But let's get back into some of these other really talented players who are headed to other schools. You talked about C.J. Conrad. I'm eager to see what he has to do on the field at Kentucky, because he's making a big jump from Keystone, which is a lower division school, to playing lesser talent in Northeast Ohio, to going to the SEC. So I think he'll play right away. He already enrolled early. He's ready to do all of the things that he needs to do to get on the field. But let's see what that talent level jump is like. A couple other really good athletes headed to D1 schools, Sean Crawford and Andy Isabella. Talk a little about them.
I think Sean Crawford, he's another one of those interesting players, and you mentioned Alex Stump, just those two guys are part of just a humongous group of St. Ed's players going Division I. I mean, it's just, when you think of the numbers going Division I from St. Ed's, it's just tremendous. But I think Sean Crawford might be the best playmaker out of the entire group of Ed's guys. Yeah. The only thing I think that may have made him a little less heralded than some of the other guys, and similar to Eddie Doherty, is just, he's just not a big guy. Crawford's only about 5'9", but in terms of football skills, it's hard not to love what Sean Crawford brings to the table in terms of just overall football talent. And then when you look at Andy Isabella from Mayfield, he was a tremendous playmaker all season. He always seemed to make big plays, and I think he's going to do well at UMass, no doubt about it. Yeah,
Sean Crawford headed to Notre Dame, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of him on our TVs at some point. And then we're going to have Andy Isabella at UMass, a program that just jumped up to D1 recently. And then another guy that is going to have a big impact, Brett Keane of St. Edward. He's going to be at South Florida, a team that has really developed a good program, and he'll be fitting in there at quarterback. But we are now joined by one of Brett Keane's teammates. It's wide receiver Alex Stump. He is headed to Ohio State. And Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing well. Alex, just take me through the day. What was it like, making it official with Ohio State?
So it's been crazy. Woke up actually really early this morning. Try to get it in right away. Me and my mom sent in about 7 o'clock, right around then. It's an exciting day. We got a ceremony at our school coming up soon, and it's just real fun.
Alex, we mentioned how many of you guys from St. Ed's are going Division I. Is it kind of bittersweet that this day today is kind of the last time you guys are all really together in the same spot before you all go your separate ways?
It is bittersweet, because we are all really close, and as teammates and as friends and stuff. But we understand that bigger and better and moving on and stuff, and we all got to have great opportunities. A lot of us have great opportunities to go to great colleges that maybe we wouldn't have had without football. So.
Alex, Ohio State obviously won the national title this year in football. What was it like watching that process as a future recruit and really as a fan this time around?
It's a really fun experience, especially being a recruit this year. It kind of added a little more excitement to it, kind of watching your soon-to-be team play as well as they did and perform in the biggest stages. So it's definitely an exciting time, and especially for being a recruit.
Alex, we talked about, how many local kids are going to Ohio State, not just yourself, but Jerome Baker, Denzel Ward, Draymond Jones. How much contact have you had with all the other guys around Northeast Ohio, all the guys are going to Ohio State, and how excited are you guys to make the trip down to Columbus?
It's definitely a great thing to have so many Ohio guys at Ohio State. Especially for myself, I've always dreamed of becoming a Buckeye, and I know a lot of the other guys the same thing. Keeping the best talent in state is definitely, I know, one of the goals that the coaching staff has, and they're definitely doing it this year.
Alex, you missed a good portion of your senior season. How are you feeling now?
I feel great. Actually, I went to the doctor this morning after I signed, and got some good news. And I'm just still, it's still probably a few more weeks now until it's full go. I'm still in a rehab process, but I'm going to be 100% come in a few weeks. So.
Alex, when you initially committed to Ohio State, I'm sure you had offers from all around. What was it about Ohio State that stuck out to you the most when you decided that was the place you wanted to be?
It has to be everything. Just playing at a school like Ohio State with the tradition, the coaching staff is definitely a huge plus for them. But also, being a fan my whole life, it was definitely something that was a real exciting time in my life.
Alex, you went through the process this year. You've heard all the build-up. Just what are your impressions of signing day and the craziness that follows around it?
I mean, you don't really understand how cool the experience is, and even yesterday, I mean, like, I don't really understand, really what it was about, but today and experiencing it, it's definitely something that it's a once in a lifetime type of thing. Signing, especially all the guys on our team that are signing, it's a special day for us all.
Alex, one of the other things that you know about having so many guys going from St. Ed's to college football is, within the Big Ten, you're going to be lined up against the Dowell brothers in Michigan State. Has there been a little bit of friendly banter between you guys, about what's going to be like going up against each other for the next 4 years after you guys have been together for the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be a really cool experience. I know like the Dowell twins, playing against them and going to get up against them is going to be a pretty sweet thing. And we never really planned it, but I guess it's going to work out that way. And I'll have to give a little extra maybe that game, to show them up.
All right, Alex. Well, congratulations again. Enjoy the ceremonies, and good luck at Ohio State.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Alex Stump, part of a great recruiting class coming from St. Edward. They got players going all across the country. That happens when you win a Division I state title. So we're eager to see how Alex does. He's coming back from a little injury, but it seems like he'll be healthy and ready to go by the time he gets down there. So now we're going to move into the final portion of the show. If you've seen some shows here throughout football season or basketball season, we like to play a game called Could, Would, Should, Will. It's a tongue twister. And we're going to start things off with Tim, what could happen for a 2015 signee this year?
I think Draymond Jones could be the first of those local Ohio State recruits to get on the field as far as, actually lining up outside of special teams. I think with his athleticism and his talent on the defense, his ability to get off blocks, pass rush capability, I think he'll be the first of that group to line up on defense.
All right, I'm going to go towards Ohio State too. I'm going to say that Denzel Ward could be the first Ohio State recruit from this area to score a touchdown. I think that Denzel is going to find a way to make an impact, whether it be on kick or punt returns. He's just so fast. He can play on defense, and I think he'll be the first one to find the end zone. Now, give me your should prediction.
I think C.J. Conrad should have a big impact at Kentucky. We talked about just how big he is. He's a mismatch out there. Once he gets adjusted to the speed of competition at the SEC and how deep that conference is, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm going to say that Brett Keane should wind up really having a strong career at South Florida. I think that Brett is going to walk in there, maybe not day one, but he might get some snaps his freshman year. And then I think by the time all things are done, Brett Keane should really put together some nice numbers that he'll be happy about when he looks back on it. Give me your will prediction.
I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think Mitch Guadagni will make some teams wonder why they didn't really look at him harder. I think he's going to have a tremendous career at Toledo. I think he's a perfect fit for that offensive system with his dual threat ability, and he's going to put up some great numbers. I think they're going to win a lot of games probably with him running the show, and I think at the end of the day, 3 years from now, there'll be some Big Ten teams wondering how they weren't able to land Guadagni.
I'm going to go with the guy we talked about earlier, Richard Worship. I think Richard Worship will get at least 50 carries during his freshman year. He might not be the starter, but I think he's going to be in the mix, and I think he's going to have a big impact. And now give me one crazy, outrageous prediction.
Crazy, outrageous. I think at least two of these recruits, when all said and done, will be first-round NFL picks.
Care to name any names, or are we going to leave it at that?
I'll leave it at that. Just because, how random recruiting is, I think Urban Meyer said it best a couple of years ago. When you do recruiting, usually one of three guys in every recruiting class pans out how you expect it to. So, with that in mind, I guess I'll kind of keep that, to myself, I guess, as far as who I think has a chance of being a first-round pick, because at the end of the day, you never really know. You're projecting these kids. You never know how they're going to turn out to be at 21 and 22 years old. Mm-hmm. But I think there's first-round talent out of this group.
All right, my crazy, outrageous prediction is the best player in the 2015 recruiting class is someone we didn't talk about today. I don't know who it is, but as you said, you never know. You can't project things. So there's a lot of really talented players on paper, but there's a lot of late bloomers. I know it's going around. Everyone's talking about how J.J. Watt was a 2-star when he was committed. Now he's the best, possibly the best player in the entire NFL, definitely on defense. And I think only time will tell. There's probably a guy we're missing today. So if we didn't mention you, don't lose that hope. Don't hold it against us. We still got a lot of faith in you. But for Tim Bielik, I'm Dave Cassilo. That is our 2015 Big Impact Recruit Show on National Signing Day. At 3 p.m., we'll be back looking ahead towards the class of 2016 and 2017, so you won't want to miss that here on cleveland.com.